I have spoken before about how important it is that we get back to the basics when it comes to certain things in life. We have to go back to basic logic, basic courtesy, and basic just overall behavior in order to make it through. Sometimes you could be so sophisticated that simple things elude you. All you know is convoluted, overbearing, and complicated. That's all you know. And when something simple comes across you that involves common sense and simple logic, it just eludes you. You don't have a clue how to deal with it. I'm going to give you another case in point. Some of you have probably come across that. Now, you know for a fact that we've got this virus situation going on. It's been going on since March of 2020. Okay? And it's not just one part of the world, it's the whole world. So since March of last year, everything has been in upheaval. We all know this. I'm not going to go into details because everybody knows what's going on. But the thing is that we have to understand that there are some people who have turned around in this thing and they have turned into different people. They have resorted to certain tactics they would have never thought of. They start thinking in a way they would have never thought of. They're starting to behave in ways that they never thought of because their mind, that switch has flipped in their mind for whatever reason. They could have been in a situation where they were already in a difficult place before March of 2020, and all this situation has done was amplified it to the point where they are just doing things that are totally out of character. Now, when I was living in the big cities like Chicago and, up in Providence near Boston and stuff like that, when you're living in a metropolitan city, you know that's a mishmash of people from all different backgrounds. But you also know if you live in those areas, there are a lot of people that are hustling. They have hustles that you wouldn't see anywhere else but the big cities. Atlanta, New York, LA. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all live in these places and you know for a fact that what you see going on in your town, you ain't going to see in Pocatello, Idaho. You ain't going to see in Augusta, Maine, and you darn sure ain't going to see in Columbia, South Carolina. You know it. It's that special big city hustle. And you know it's not limited in any age group either. I've seen little kids scamming people. I'm going to tell you something. When I was doing my grad work in Chicago, I learned a lot about people. And good part about it was not only is my school located on Michigan Avenue near Buckingham Park, but my job is located right across from Dealey Plaza. I could look outside and see the Picasso out there. And for those of you who don't know, there's a giant Picasso replica. I forgot how many feet tall it is. It's in the middle of the plaza. And a lot of the buildings, the government buildings, are around the plaza. But anyway, I watch people. I learned a lot about the hustles that they run. And I remember one day in particular, it was cold that day too. We were trying to wrap up the voter registration for Chicago because, as I mentioned before, I worked in the voter registration office. And we reached a deadline, and when you get close to the deadline, the hours get a little long. And it was really chilly that day because we're talking about the first week of November. First week of November in Chicago, everybody got the coats on. So I'm riding the train on the way home, and it's a good ride. I would say about 30, 35 minutes, depending on how crowded it is. I see these little kids going from car to car with the little candy bucket and the little Xerox sign saying support the basketball team. One of the biggest scams in Chicago, let me tell you. I remember back in the day when I worked back there, some people would put money in the bucket and some people wouldn't. So if I had a little change, I always threw in there. But this is what I just found out. Now, mind you, the virus situation started in March of 2020. That means a lot of activities weren't conducted. I had a friend of mine tell me not too long ago that there were these little boys with an adult still out there going from train to train, still on the streets trying to get people to give them money for a basketball game. Y'all do me a favor and tell me. Now, see, basic thinking now. Y'all tell me what basketball games were they having last year this time. This is around September they told me about this. They said August or September of 2020. August or September of 2020. You have kids on the street in Chicago, and I'm sure it's happening in other cities too, asking for money to fundraise for the basketball team. What basketball games are they playing in August or September? And what basketball games were they playing in August or September of 2020 where they were going to have crowds when things were shut down? I'm waiting for an answer here because if you know what basketball games they were playing in August or September of 2020 in Chicago that had crowds that required some fundraisers, I want you to put it in the comments because that's a very special place that I would like to visit. Because there's some badasses if they were open and having basketball games in August or September. Not even the basketball season. And in a pandemic where things were locked down. But they were raising money and people were putting money in the... See what I mean? And had the adult standing there, which means the adult was the one that was using the kids to get the money. Had these little Xerox flyers that they made up on their computer. For some school, for some community basketball team. I'm trying to figure this one out, y'all. I don't care if it was, maybe it was at a park or at a court or something like that, but that's not the way these flyers were looking according to my friend. She was like, she took the time to call me all the way from Chicago to tell me. She said, girl, she said, these scammers are still out here. Lockdown don't mean nothing. But that's just to give you an idea the levels that people are going. Now, see, that adult, that's probably their children. Probably told them that it was a little game that they were going to play. The children don't know any better. They don't realize the scale of what they're doing. So you have mom or daddy tell them, we're going to have an adventure today. We're going to go outside and do so-and-so, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to make a few dollars too. The child don't know any better. These child, the oldest one looked like he was maybe 10, and then the baby looked like he was about maybe 5 or 6. Little children. And that was another giveaway. How a 5 or 6-year-old going to be playing basketball with the 10-year-old on the same team? In August or September 2020, when everything's on lockdown for a public game. Y'all see where I'm going with this? So I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's such a shame. He shouldn't pimp the kids out. But it goes back to what I said before. If people are going to do something wrong, sometimes they do it right. And you can't blame the people that are doing it wrong sometimes, because if you got an audience, if you got somebody that's willing to open their wallet to it, they're going to keep doing it. So yeah, their scam wasn't right. Okay, it wasn't right. They could have been doing it to raise money to eat. They could have been doing it to keep money, keep food and, gas in the car. Daddy could have lost his job and he just started thinking in survival mode. We don't know. But the thing is, I'm not going to totally blame them. Because if they stood outside all day and didn't come home with any money, they wouldn't take their asses out there the next day. But they were out there every single day because they were motivated from the day before. Because they got money from people who weren't thinking. They just want to open their wallet. They see some people begging, just throw it. Just throw it. Don't even think about it. I'm going to give you another case in point, then I'm going to go. I remember I had taken a trip to Vegas a couple of years ago. And I went down to Fremont Street. I like to go to Fremont Street because I'm a bit of history buff. So I like to go see the old casinos and kind of chill out down there sometimes. The Strip is okay. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to see on the Strip. Very exciting. But, because I like history, I like to go to like Fremont Street and see all the different buildings that's been around. Even though I do have some new hotels and stuff, a lot of the older casinos have like the different exhibits in there and the different pictures and things from back in the day. And I just find it fascinating. So it was early in the morning that I went. I think it was the day after I arrived. And I said to myself, because it was hot. It was September. And it was still hot in Vegas. So I said to myself, the best way for me to do it is to get up as early in the morning as I can, get down to Fremont Street, and in that way I could spend the whole day. Fremont Street is covered, it's climate control. And I said, I don't have to worry about being out in this heat baking to death. Well, 7 o'clock in the morning in Vegas, in September, the sun is high in the sky. High in the sky, and it's already warm. So I get down there, not many people around because it was a weekday, and I see this lady and a toddler sitting outside one of the casinos. And eventually they had to run her off because you can't sit in front of the casinos. Well, for those of you who don't know, in Vegas there are street performers. There are a lot of street performers out there. They'll do music, they'll sing, or whatever the case may be. And I guess they get a certain they get a spot or a day permit. I don't know how that goes, but they'll be out there performing, and they'll have their little buckets or their little instrument cases where people will throw money in there. This lady wasn't singing. She wasn't dancing. She wasn't doing any type of mime. She wasn't reading. She wasn't preaching. She wasn't performing nothing. She had that baby out there. She was sitting on the ground, and the baby was standing up holding the bucket outside the casino. And every person that passed by, she was asking, "Can you give money for me and my baby? Can you give money for me and my baby?" Got the stroller with the diaper bag in there. Because the baby, I tell you, baby looked like they were no more than 3 years old. Couldn't have been 3. Just as bold as I don't know what. And I guess, if they didn't run her off, I guess she just kind of moved around a little bit. I didn't give anything because I'm like, if you have a child, what's up with your social services? You don't have anybody in social services to help you because you got this child. You guys have to look at things. You guys have to pay attention to basic things. They have agencies that help people. I'm not down in homelessness because not every single city has the facilities for homelessness. But you have to be careful. Just because you see somebody out in the street asking for some money doesn't mean they deserve to have it. A lot of these people are making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year out on the street holding up a sign, tax-free. They turn around and get that money, get in their BMW that's parked down the street, and go home. What I think you should do, am I saying that you shouldn't give anybody any money? No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that you've got to gauge it. And it's sad to say because back in the day it used to be when somebody was hungry or something, they were genuinely hungry. I've come across people that say, "We'll work for food, and I will have an extra pack of crackers or a roll or some leftover lunch, try to give it to them, they don't want it." Now what does that tell you? And I told you before, I have lived and worked in a homeless shelter. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I've heard and seen the game. I've seen these people. I've seen people work in the men's house, work in the women's house. When they have a break from classes or therapy or whatever it is, them few hours, they get their little marker and their cardboard and they sign or a sign that they've already printed, and they hit the street and make some money. Because they're in that mode. They're in that mode of desperation. And they'll turn around and take that change, stop by the corner store, get whatever little things that they need. Most of them are already getting meals, but they might get little snacks or their cigarettes or their rolling papers. They'll get whatever they need to get from there. So you guys have to be careful who you give your funds to. If someone say they're working for food, give them a cup of coffee. Give them some crackers. Give them some fruit. If they say that's what they're working for, keep some change. I always kept some pack of crackers or something on me, whenever I was out during the day, because who's to say there might be a transportation delay somewhere, you're stuck in traffic or something like that. You might have to skip lunch or whatever. So I always keep a snack on me just in case. So if somebody say they're willing to work for food, I'll be like, "You ain't got to work here, take this." And gauge their reaction. You got to be careful, people. I'm just saying this because I'm being real. I'm not trying to be mean. Like I said, I lived in the environment. But you have to use common sense. You have to use common sense sometimes. You have been blessed with the ability to help someone, but you got to be careful who you help. because you're going to look up and see that financial blessing is gone, and you're going to wonder what the hell happened. Then you're going to be running around here talking about the devil did it. No, the devil didn't do it. You threw it away. You didn't use your blessings wisely. So I just say this to say this. People, we are in some desperate times right now. Don't let common sense leave you. Don't let simple logic lead you, please. And with that, I'm going to leave y'all alone for the day. But y'all have a great day. And peace to you.